Alright, so in this video we will be finally sculpting a human head in Blender 3D. Now sculpting portraits is probably the most common sculpt to do in Blender, as it's something that's quite fun and requires a lot of skill to get right. So in this video I will be showing you the most important shapes, the most important brushes to use, and just the general approach to creating a human head in Blender. So we can get started by going over to the sculpting tab, and before we actually start sculpting, we actually need a bit more geometry. So we can start off by going into object mode and applying a subdivision surface modifier. And I will change it to a level 5, I'll say. Or do we need a 4? We can say 4 for now. We don't want too much geometry at the start. And then I'll press Ctrl A to apply and go back into sculpting mode. So as the human head is mostly symmetrical, most human heads are symmetrical, it makes sense for us to enable symmetry mode at the top here. And then we can get started by making the actual forms of our human head. So before you actually get started, it's important to have reference images for your sculpts. This is a big help in getting the correct shape of your head and making sure that you're on track. So I actually have some sculpts on another, or some reference images on another screen. I can't put it on the screen now just because of copyright issues. So I'm just making sure that they're on a different screen. However, what I recommend you do is get the free app PureRef, and that will allow you to put in reference images that can float on top of your screen here. So to get started, we need to actually have some of the important shapes of our sculpt. And what we can do is go into front view if you're not there already. And using the grab brush, we are going to pull this region down just so that we have the elongated shape of the head. So using the grab brush, what I like to do is just grab this part and pull it down like so until, oops, oh, damn it. Sorry, could you cut that? And then pull it down until we get something that we're happy with. And then I will go into right view and just see how that looks. So I can just push it just back a bit so that we have this angle here. And then what I can do is just pull this forward and pull this forward like so. And then with the human head, it's not actually this round, so we can just flatten it by using the grab brush and just pushing it in like so. I'll also push in the jaw as well. And what I can do is just make everything a bit flatter, thin this region here. Okay. And then with the human head, if you have some reference images, hopefully you have reference images of the front and the side view. And then maybe you should also get some reference images of the human skull. You'll know that the human skull kind of goes a bit higher at the back. And then I can pull this back as well. So right now we're just blocking out the main shapes of our human head. And what I can do is just pull down this jaw region here so that we have the little parts that, let me just annotate it actually. Go into object mode and get my annotation tool. So typically the jaw goes down around. We have the chin around here. We'll go up. There's the mouth region, I'll say. Mouth region is about here. It will come inwards. And then we'll have the nose. Nose will come out to about here or so. This is a very crude drawing, but hopefully you are getting, understanding where the placement of most things will be. So we have the nose pointing out, the bump for the mouth. Then it might come in slightly. We'll have the chin. But the most important part that I wanted to let you know about is the jaw region here. And then you have the rest of the head. So this is the part that we're trying to make now. And of course the ears will also be around here. And then eyes are kind of here. Very crude drawing, but it's just there to give you a sense of how things should look. So I can go back into sculpt mode and build out the jaw. So I'm just trying to make that sharp region for the jaw. So I'm just pushing it in like so and making that sharp region, as you can see here. So one tip that I do to help get the sharp region is just to push things back and forth, as you can see here. So that's going a bit too extreme, but that's just me showing you how that is done. Oops, so go into front view and just see how that looks. So the jaw is typically, I just want to see if I can, yeah, I can annotate from here. So the jaw usually comes down and then to the side and then like that. So we need to actually have the correct shape. So let me just erase that. There's probably a quicker way to erase that. But anyway, so we just need to ensure that we have the correct shape of the jaw. But of course, this will also just come in time. So we don't need to worry too much right now. Whoops. So right now all we're doing is still in the block out phase. We want to make sure that our block out is, as I would say, accurate as possible to the human form, because then it just makes things a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is pull out the jaw, because typically you can see parts of the jaw when you're in a front view. So I'll go to back view and just grab this region here and pull it out like so. And then what I can do is just push in the rest of the face. Okay. And now to create more of the face, typically for most people, especially for males, there is a large indentation by your forehead. So on the side of your forehead, what you can do is just get this region here and push it back in just a bit. Maybe that was too much, so I'll just do that again. Just push it in slightly. And then at the back, your head actually comes out at the back a bit more. So just pull that out like so. And yeah. Okay. So we can just pull things out like so. And for the cheek area, I'll just move some vertices so that we have a bit of the cheekbones, or I guess the place for the cheekbones to appear. So once we have a very basic head, as you can see, we have some of the forms already coming in. So we have the jaw here, a bit of the side of the head, the back of the head, and we can see the foreheads coming along. We can actually start placing the eyes. So the eyes come around the middle of the head. A lot of beginners put them too far up, but you need to remember you have to leave space for the forehead. So again, make sure that you have your reference images on screen, and what you can do is just using your grab brush, just push them in inside the head, just so that you have that indentation. So I'm just made a little push just to see if they're in the right position. I would say I'll just undo that, maybe put them like one square lower, and just see if that looks any better. And I would say it does. And then what I can do is just push things in even more. So this might be where we'll start to add in a bit more geometry. Not just yet, but you can see where we're starting to have some limitations in the fact that these holes are very crude, I would say. Like, we don't have too much detail. And then what I usually do is just push back the rest of the face as it comes from the eyes. So typically we have, let me just annotate, typically we have the eye region here, and I will indent all the way down here underneath the mouth and kind of connect the eyes like so. Oops, let me not undo that and just delete this annotation. And then, so what I can do is just push in some more of the regions here. I think for the chin, I'll just drag it and move it down. And then also for the chin, this region needs to be a bit more flat. So what I plan on doing is to drag this down and then make it a bit more flat, because as you can see, the jaw is angled quite a bit, which isn't exactly what we want. So I'll press the G key for grab. I don't know why my screencast keys aren't on. So I've pressed the G key for grab, and what I can do is just move it down like so. I'll push this region back up and flatten the jaw once again like so. We do need to make sure that we're preserving that jaw region or that jaw shape. So since we're sculpting a male figure, we're going to have quite a pronounced looking jaw. I'll flatten this region, pull it up slightly, pull it back, I think. But it's important not to rush these things, so let me just be a bit more patient in the way that it looks. So I will pull out this cheek region here and then push in the eyes a bit more. So I'm pushing them in towards each other, and also I'm just pushing them back into the head like so. I'm just going to also just pull the forehead back a bit, I think. And then, whoops, sorry. And then I will pull up this region like so, pulling the head back a bit more too. Okay. And then with the brow region, again, if you have some skull reference image, take some time to actually just study the different forms of the skull. But what you can do is just pull out this region, and this is like the orbital region, the bones around your eyes. So if you feel around your skull, just above your eyeball, you'll feel that there is bone. I guess that's just part of your skull. But for a lot of people, especially men, there are very thick bones around this area where your brow region starts to form. And sometimes they can actually come out to the side. Some people is more exaggerated than others, but it's good to have a subtle little like notch around this area. Okay. I think now we are starting to become limited by our geometry. So this means that we can actually start to remesh our model. So what we can do is press Shift R. This is the shortcut for remesh, and then drag our mouse until we have something maybe like 0.65. And then I will press Control and R to remesh. And now we have a bit more geometry to work with. So what I'll do is just push the eyes out a bit, like so. Then go into side view, and we will start to make a very basic nose. Again, we're not trying to add any detail yet. We're going up very slowly. So what I'll do is just pull out this region here with the grab brush. Again, notice how we haven't actually used any brushes like the clay strips brush or the crease brush or anything like that. We're really taking our time with this, and we're making sure that we have the forms first, the forms over everything, because if we add detail quickly, then our sculpt won't turn out correctly. So it's better to take your time with these things. So as you can see, just pulled out the nose region. And then what I'll do is just pull out the eyebrows a bit, just so that we have that curvature that goes around the forehead. And we're making sure that the forehead isn't flat. So what I'll do is just pull out the brows like so. Just pull it out a bit more. And what I can do is just pull up the nose, just so that, you know, things are just still keeping proportional. I think the eye region is quite big, so what I can do is just pull things up. Again, it's okay if we make small mistakes as long as we can adjust them. And this is why we do things very slowly, because if we add too much detail, it becomes extremely difficult to rectify mistakes. So just make sure that you are, again, just taking things slowly. I'm pulling out the cheeks just a bit. And then what I'll do is just push in this part here, just so that we have a more interesting skull shape, I would say. And then I'm pulling out the jaw once again. Okay, so now for the mouth, I'll pull this region down just so that we have a bit more space to work with, because for the, I guess the mouth region and the jaw, it comes down. So we have the nose already. It goes back in a little bit, and then we have the mouth, and then it comes back in a bit, and then we have the chin. So that's what we're trying to go for. So again, just make sure that you're studying your reference images and making sure that things are looking good. So for the mouth region, I'm just going to pull forward this area here, and then maybe just push back the bottom of that region, just so that we have the separation between the chin and the bottom of the mouth. So for the mouth, go into just free view and just make sure that it wraps around the entire mouth. So we're making sure that this region isn't flat. We're making sure that things curve around the model. It's weird when you annotate and then move around, but we're making sure that things curve around the 3D model instead of being flat. So the best way to tell is to go into bottom view, or just a slight bottom view, and see if it wraps around the face. So if you don't have that curvature of the mouth, then you need to change things.